Wait, Adam, did you ever start that Finding Community Everyday Intellect project in English 176?
Actually, I was just about to talk about that. Oh, hello there. My name is Adam Burr, and I've decided to share with you a group I like to call Fist Burrito. Now, this group wouldn't be considered a normal formal group on campus, but one that came together in the blazing crucible of Welcome Week here at Creighton. So, what is Fist Burrito? You may have already inferred that Fist Burrito is a group of my closest buddies here at Creighton. Why else would they have the name Fist Burrito? So you may be wondering, how did the term Fist Burrito come to be the name of our group? Well, recently I sat down with one of the group's members, Julian Garcia, to discuss this topic. So, Julian went to Brandeis Dining Hall one night and got a burrito with his dinner. However, during our meal, he began using the burrito as a kind of stress ball. When I asked Julian why he did this, here's what he said.
Well, I was just subconsciously fondling it.
Okay. Is there no specific reason?
No, I was just like bored and like you know how you get like stress toys and you like squeeze them. I was just like playing with the burrito and it was just like calming to me.
Okay. Did you have any idea the scope of your actions would lead to the entire group being called Fist Burrito?
No, I had no idea. I was just playing with the burrito and then suddenly everybody's like, "What are you doing with the burrito?" And I was like, "Oh, it's like really fun. You should try it." And then we started passing the burrito.
Now that we have an idea of what Fist Burrito is and why it's called Fist Burrito, you may be wondering, what makes Fist Burrito special? Well, you might think that this group isn't as dense or full of tradition as a more formal official group. You can learn a lot about the type of students Creighton attracts by studying this community. From the way members of this community include others, bond over a $5 cup of coffee from Starbucks, and choke down whatever Brandeis is cooking for dinner. This group demonstrates three qualities we should all strive to live by: open-mindedness, inclusivity, and compassion. Since Fist Burrito doesn't necessarily convene in the same location every time they meet, I decided to make my map about a place where they meet often, which is at dinner time at the dinner tables out on the mall here at Creighton. Since this space isn't necessarily a great representation of the group's values, I've also included a more in-depth seating chart which describes the individual aspects of each member of the group's ties to each other, which helps create the community as a whole. As I said previously, Fist Burrito as a group doesn't necessarily convene in the same location every time they meet, which forced me to create a map of the place we meet most often. You can see here that at dinner, we generally sit in a circle, with each member contributing to the conversation. This demonstrates the inclusivity and open-mindedness I previously mentioned. No one generally dominates the conversation, and no one is left out. Another example of Fist Burrito's inclusivity is that we will often have new people join us for dinner or other activities we do, which is something that I believe people often forget is important. While it is good to continue to develop the relationships you have, Fist Burrito and its members are not afraid to step outside their comfort zone and include new people. Aside from this, I assigned a theoretical seating chart based on members' connections to each other. For example, my roommate, Harry, which you saw at the beginning of this video, is seated next to me because we live in the same space and spend a lot of time together. Levi, James, and Julian are all seated together because they all live in Gallagher and do Gallagher things together. However, this seating chart obviously does not exist in real life, and rarely do people in the community care who they sit by while they're eating, but I thought it would be interesting to view the people in this community based on their individual relationships. Finally, I believe the dining table being circular is symbolic of Fist Burrito's commitment to open-mindedness. Even despite differences in political ideology or religion, the members of this community accept people for who they are and are willing to learn about someone else's view, even if it may be different than their own. Now that I've gone over Fist Burrito's map, I'd like to introduce you to some common language often used in this group. So one interesting thing about this group is that we often personify each of the freshman residence halls. For example, Gallagher or Galley is kind of known as the trashy hall, Swanson is supposed to be like the upper middle class hall, and Kiewit is kind of like the normal area, and really not many people we know live in Degelman, so we don't actually talk about that a lot. And another thing that is incredibly important in this community is our pet squirrel named Grease. Sometimes Grease will join us for dinner, when Dylan, one of Fist Burrito's members, will attempt to feed him various food delicacies as to improve his nutrition. Since a lot of Fist Burrito's members are football fans, it makes sense that we use a lot of football language, especially when talking about our fantasy football league, which I am 3-0 in. Some football terms you might hear in a conversation with the boys might include fantasy, which is a type of football game in which you draft NFL players and they gather points for you as they complete certain objectives during football games. You might hear, I need blank player to clutch up for me, which means I need a player to get me a certain amount of points during this fantasy game. And conversely, you might hear, I need blank player to not exist, which obviously doesn't mean you need a player to not really exist, but you need a player to do very poorly in getting fantasy points this week. So now that I've introduced you to some of Fist Burrito's language, you may be wondering, why is this important? The personification of the residence halls, the taming of Greece, and the football terms we've somewhat invented all display the creativity of the members of Fist Burrito. So now I'd like to talk about how Fist Burrito connects to the readings we've gone over in class. In From Candy Girls to Sista Cipher, Carmen Kynard uses her study group as an example of a hush harbor. I would say that for many members of Fist Burrito, myself included, the group acts as a kind of hush harbor itself. For many people in this group, Fist Burrito is a place to say what you want and do what you feel without fear of being judged. In his piece on intellectuals, Antonio Gramsci identifies the concept of organic intelligence. Some members of this community are adept at playing musical instruments, some participate in a lot of high school athletics, and some members of this group demonstrate their intelligence in the way they crack jokes or tell stories. Now let's review. The way members of Fist Burrito include others, use their creativity to inspire their work, and display their organic intellect in a variety of ways demonstrates 3 core values: inclusivity, open-mindedness, and compassion. I sincerely hope you enjoyed learning about Fist Burrito today, and with that being said,
thanks for watching.